Good Monday morning. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Corey Rose.
And I'm Steve Stager. The final wave of students returning to school today. Our reporters, Courtney and Mackenzie, are with our elementary and college-bound students as they head back to class.
So fun. And let's take a live look over Denver right now. Heat and wind are the two best words to describe weather conditions today. And maybe a beautiful sunrise right there. Poudre School District says they're going to be releasing students early again today because of the heat. This is now the third day they've had to resort to early dismissals because of high temps since starting classes just last Wednesday. Impacted schools will be sending students home 2 hours early. The district says most of its schools lack air conditioning, so they want to make sure everyone is safe. Yeah. Katie, for kiddos heading out this morning, sunny, nice and mild.
It is very pleasant to kick off this Monday. We do have thunderstorms in the forecast. Very gusty winds would be the biggest threat, but as we give you a live look over Lookout Mountain, welcome back to class. Denver and all of the kids heading to school this morning across much of the state were nice and dry, very mild. Temperatures in the mountains have fallen to the 40s and 50s, so cool there, but 60s here across the plains. Your weather headlines: staying very warm this week. Highs today in the low 90s, 80s and 90s will stick with us through the end of August. That's above average temperatures for us across the Front Range. Thunderstorms, showers, widely scattered to isolated, will be with us each day this week. That includes the mountains, the metro, and eastern plains. And for this morning, it is dry, 65 degrees, winds are calm. The bus stop planner for this morning, a lot of sunshine early on, but it's going to be warm this afternoon. From Denver to Fort Collins to Greeley, low 90s anticipated. For the metro and much of downtown, we're really just looking at mostly cloudy skies by the time the kids come home from school, but breezy, and temperatures in the low 90s from Denver to Greeley and east, west into the high country, upper 70s from Vail to Frisco, warm in Steamboat Springs. Now, all areas shaded in green. Much of the state under a marginal risk of severe storm activity. The northeastern plains, a bullseye where we could be seeing the biggest threat with these storms, damaging winds. So very gusty conditions, not a lot of widespread wet weather. Now, you may hear our weather impact team talk about what's called wind shear, and with these dry microbursts possible, we want to just break down exactly what that means. So our weather impact team meteorologist Jaden Knowles is showing us this morning really what it means and why it can make a difference. Jaden, good morning to you. It's really just the winds that we'll be talking about with these storms later on today and through the next couple.
Yeah, that's right, Katie. Good morning to you as well. You know, think about the atmosphere like a giant highway. You know, you got changing speeds. You also maybe sometimes different directions, and you add in the height. That's wind shear. So, I mean, imagine you're driving down the highway. If every car is traveling in the same direction at the same speed, no problem. But now imagine the cars in the left lane are flying by while the cars in the right lane are moving much slower. Now you've got a lot more going on. That's basically what happens in the atmosphere when wind speed or direction changes with height. And thunderstorms love that. Here's the reason why: because wind shear can help a storm stay organized instead of collapsing on itself. It can also the storm to live longer and potentially become stronger. And here's why we were watching it this week. Tuesday and Wednesday, we have an environment where there's enough instability, which is basically fuel for thunderstorms, and stronger winds higher up in the atmosphere. But when you have fuel plus lift plus wind shear, that's when thunderstorms can go from, hey, there's a storm, to, whoa, that storm definitely means some business. So the next time you hear us say wind shear, like Katie just got done mentioning, just think about different lanes, different speeds, and of course, different directions. So now you'll be able to tell your friends and also your students. If you're a teacher watching this morning, you'll be able to tell your students what wind shear is and that we're going to have that this week. Reporting live in Denver, Jaden Knowles for 9 News.
Jaden, thank you so much for that report. Happy Monday, everyone. Happy first day of school for Denver Public Schools as well. Today is going to be very busy across the metro area because we're going to see a lot of bus out on the roads, plus pickup and drop off this morning. So please keep that in mind. A live look right now for anyone taking 225 between Iliff and Mississippi, heading down south or north to I-70. No issues to report. I want to get to your drive times, especially along that stretch of 225. So right now we're not tracking any overnight construction or crashes happening. So it's going to be a 10-minute drive if you're heading southbound this morning, and then all the way down in Castle Rock, northbound I-25, heading up to 225, only a 15-minute drive.
Brianna, thanks. Right now, police in Denver are looking for a car involved in a hit-and-run crash early Sunday morning. Denver police say they were called to a large gathering in a parking lot just before 1:50 a.m. They say information that they've been able to gather so far suggests the crash happened when 2 people were driving recklessly in that parking lot. One of the cars hit a man who was standing in the area. That man was seriously injured. The driver fled the scene when police arrived. CBI says that they're looking for a 2003 to 2007 Chevrolet Silverado with a Colorado license plate, number unknown. Anyone with information is asked to contact DPD.
Aurora's been working to address racial bias in policing in a bid to make the department more transparent following the death of Elijah McClain. After almost 5 years under the consent decree, the city is creating a new office to take on some of that accountability work themselves. The city says this plan has been in the works for some time now, but with the decree's monitor assigned to do similar work, they've held out. But now, as that 5-year period with the monitor approaches, they're looking for a long-term solution to keep accountability in policing. City Manager Jason Batchelor says the new office will have full access to police data and systems to keep the department transparent and accountable.
Be able to sit in on use of force reviews whenever there's a critical incident. They'll respond to that scene. They'll serve as a liaison to families that are impacted by, officer-involved shootings or other critical incidents.
Getting that up and running will take months, but in the next few weeks, the city will start up a new task force with local and state agencies to examine how APD responds when calls come in from someone in behavioral and mental health crisis, and if the resources and supports in Aurora are enough to help and are being used. That temporary task force is expected to start in September.
Democratic Governor Jared Polis is turning to the White House again for help with recovery efforts following a couple of destructive wildfires this summer. The state has submitted a request for a major disaster declaration for the Aspen Acres and Gold Mountain fires. If the request is approved, it would open the door for federal funds for the recovery in Pueblo, Custer, and Ouray counties. Colorado's faced roadblocks getting federal funding before. The state's last 2 requests for aid were denied, according to both the White House and to FEMA. The damage estimates for the Lee and Elk wildfires and the flooding in southwest Colorado didn't meet the threshold for disaster declaration.
Meanwhile, the state's 2 biggest fires that created the burn scars causing some of this summer's most striking flood damage continue to burn. The Aspen Acres fire started in late June and is now the 7th largest wildfire in state history. It's burned nearly 160 square miles since starting in June. That's larger than the city of Denver. The Custer County Sheriff says the economic impact will likely exceed $500 million. It's 77% contained this morning. And northeast of Ouray, the Gold Mountain fire has burned more than 39,000 acres or about 60 square miles. It's now 87% contained. More than 300 homes have been destroyed in both fires.
Today, Aurora City Council is set to discuss potential new regulations for data centers that includes a ban on evaporative cooling. Council documents call the process inefficient in water use. The second is a zoning code change. Right now, data centers are allowed in mixed-use office industrial zoned areas. Those could be located right next to some residential areas and schools. This comes after the last council meeting where council members approved a resolution directing city management to update data center development standards.
Tomorrow, Castle Pines City Council is set to consider a proposed annexation policy. The policy came up after an annexation proposal called Crow's Nest prompted significant public debate. It led council to pause annexation requests until formal standards could be developed. The policy would not annex any land. Instead, it would create standards for evaluating future requests.
And as we give you a live look outside on this Monday morning, sun is rising, skies are mostly clear, temperatures very comfortable. We're sitting in the 60s currently. It'll be very warm though later on this afternoon. You can see partly cloudy skies by lunchtime, 89 degrees, staying very dry, but into the afternoon and early evening, we do have the chance for thunderstorms in the forecast. I'll break down from the mountains to the metro area and all across the eastern plains where we are expecting to see some wet weather later on today and through the week in your extended forecast after the break.
And no issues to report if you're taking I-25. Heading south this morning downtown to the Tech Center, only 12 minutes. North, only 11-minute drive.